I am going to share with you guys basically a giant data dump of things that have happened since the beginning of October to now, which is November 6th. So in October, I took up fasting. I took it up in secret for the most part, usually because of worry that I've caused people throughout. I did tell certain people, and of course they just started worrying. So I'm getting better about just being silent about it too. But regardless, I created a really strong will for myself after a while. And what happened, the way that I built that up was I learned my reliance on certain substances throughout this. Because if you're fasting, you're foregoing everything. At least in my opinion, that's a really good fast. You can have water, you can have coconut water. That's how I like to do it. And preferably warm water and organic coconut water. Try not to get something that's, in like a little can with carbonation. That's not good. Yeah, and tea too, to flesh out the organs. Dandelion, clover, regardless. When I couldn't have sugar, I would get really tired and I would start talking to myself crazy and I would start saying all these things. And if I fed into it, if I let the thought take over, I became absolutely miserable. But if I stopped and I breathed, it was like a flushing of that mental parasite. It just went away. And sometimes it would take more than one breath, but I really learned the strength of breath. And it got to the point where I woke up one day and I didn't want to eat. I had absolutely no urge to eat and I loved it. I remember sitting actually like right there, just right there. And just looking around, and I felt so present, so incredibly present, so present that it was like I was on a psychedelic. But I was just clean. And I also really became aware of my body tensing up, because my body would tense up when it didn't want to do certain things, because it knew kind of like in the long run that wasn't a good idea. Like if I was interacting with someone and I wanted to say a certain something, my body would tense up to keep me from speaking because it knew that this person's thought train wasn't over. So I put my shoes on for work and I was about to go out the door and my body tensed up and I was like, wait, why aren't we going? Why don't you want to go? I was like, well, I don't want to eat. I was like, okay, and? Well, the only reason you go to work is because you want to eat. That's it. That's the only thing. Once work covers your food, I work at a juice and smoothie bar. So it's probably the best place I can work when it comes to this stuff, but I'm miserable. I'm tired. It's not even tired, I'm bored. I can't lie, I don't like the work culture there. There's a lot of things I really don't like about there, but I stay because it pays my bills and it's easy. It's very comfortable. It's very easy to just sit back and rot away there. And when I came to the realization of that, I ate. I ate to drown that out. And then I learned really how food works. We drown ourselves. We suppress ourselves so much through food. It's insane. Especially when it comes to the emotions attached to these certain foods. There's a state of which you eat them. If you're eating in a state of anxiety, you're barely there. You're usually just trying to get the stimulation or, the effect of said thing. It's kind of like coffee. Some people just shoot that thing back. With sweets, people tend to, again, just shoot it back. Because, they're there for the taste, but for the most part, they just want the sugar high. They want the caffeine high. They want to stop feeling so empty. They want to stop feeling so low. But what you're doing is you're processing an illusion. And by illusion, I mean something that's not sustainable. The only thing that is truthful is something that is purely sustainable. Any lifestyle, any diet that kills you is fake. It's not how you should actually live, and it's not actually giving you any form of vitality. If you become tired after you eat, if you wake up tired, if you feel heavy, if you feel lethargic, if your food makes you crash, it's killing you. It's fake food. It's a fake diet. There is no life in your food. It's robbing you every single time you consume it. So that's the thing that I learned, is that when you eat, you have to process this emotion and thought related to the food before returning back to this peace. And the more that you stay in this peace, the more you realize that that's actually okay. You can forego a meal or two and stay in this peace, and you'll feel fulfilled. And you'll want to do less because you don't have to compensate for things. You know, if you start crashing from caffeine, then maybe you might want a nap, or you might want certain foods, or you might want to stay away from people, or you might want to project on people because you're grumpy. But you're not going to do that, because to begin with, if you abstain from these things, or if you go through the, I don't want to say the withdrawal symptoms, and eventually land back at your that balance point, that harmony, you'll realize it's perfect, and you'll stray away. It happens. It's the yo-yo effect of healing. You'll find the path. You'll be like, oh, this is cool, but then desire will kick in, and boom, you'll go here, but then you'll come back down, or you'll go down, you'll come back up, and you'll find that this middle point is really the perfect place. Okay. Last thing I learned is I couldn't BS myself or others as much. I was calling out people left and right, and I felt very comfortable with it. And it was awesome, because I was calling myself out all the time when I was fasting, because there was quite literally nothing else to do. If I was trying to meditate and I was getting irritated, I'd be like, okay, come on, tell me, what's up? And it was just really cool. And I handled myself really well at that point. Now, one thing I would have never shared in the past, but I feel comfortable sharing now, is when I slip up and I use a substance. So I don't drink. And the only time I ever really drank was at my old job, whenever we would have get-togethers. I used to work at a coffee shop. It was one of those drive-through ones. I'm not gonna say the name. But the way that these girls, they all hung out. It was basically like a sorority. I was a part of like one of 3 guys there. But the way that these girls got together is, they'd party together, they drink together, and I don't drink. Like I don't keep alcohol around me. The only time I take it is for the effect. I hate the taste. It makes my body feel weird. If you exercise after, it makes your sweat stinky. Like, it's just not good at all. And you wake up just with less energy. It's just so bad. But regardless, I took 3 shots over the course of 3 hours, and I took 2 hits of a joint. I had abstained from weed since September 23rd. Not to say that the use was heavy leading into that, but I was still using. And so, yeah, I took 2 hits of a joint, and I was at a costume party, and it was okay. I definitely, looking back, I went there out of fear, because I didn't really feel like I had a family unit at my current job. And I had placed up walls on purpose at this job where I'm at now, because when I didn't put up those walls, or at least when I didn't support those boundaries from work to my life or my personal life, what I found is it was like, I hate to use the term parasite, but that's kind of what it was. I wanted to stop partying. I wanted to stop smoking with them. I wanted to stop drinking with them. I wanted to stop eating out and eating starches and heavy foods with them. But it was like, since I wasn't so strong about these boundaries, it was just always happening. And I built relationships with these people, but I'm not speaking to any of them now. It was appropriate at the time, and they taught me lessons. A parasite isn't, I don't want to say it's even innately bad. Yeah, it's kind of bad to the host, but at the same time, parasites eat up the energy that's not supposed to be there. And then they start eating the host. So what they were doing is they were teaching me the lessons of energy that was not supposed to be there, energy that I should stop expressing, that was keeping me from being my truest self. And once I was aware of that, now I needed you to go. And so I just kind of regressed back into this and went to this party. And so I did that. I smoked 2 hits of a joint and took 3 shots in 3 hours. And drugs are cheat codes, because if you were to just live sober and you were to never take substances like this, you would never come across these states of awareness, these states of consciousness. And so the issue is what people do is they want to keep cheating. And what happens to cheaters? Well, a cheater must be punished. It happens every time. And so what goes up must come down. It's kind of like going on a trampoline. Boom, you get high, it takes THC, and you come right back down. And the issue is it shows you all this relaxation. It shows you all these states. You don't get it. You come back down, your memory's gone, it's wiped. It takes your hydration, it takes your memory, it takes so much from you. And so honestly, if you even want to really get anything out of weed, you got to do it super sparingly. Like, I'm talking like once every 6 months, minimum once every 2 months. And you already got to be like a really healthy, balanced, centered individual, because you're gonna have a brain that doesn't work the next morning. And so you need to have a brain that's already really, really strong and really, really there and present and has an incredible memory, so you can remember the lessons that you learned. Because again, it's gonna send you up. It's gonna send you to places, give you all these crazy experiences, but don't get attached to spiritual materialism. Don't collect experiences and call yourself enlightened. That's nothing. You need to let go of your past. You absolutely have to let go of your past to be here. But regardless, I did learn one thing though. Licking people at both of their eyes at the same time and softening my gaze. Wow, I wrote this in caps. Absolutely do not tend to the external environment, only tend to the internal. There was 2 people in particular that pulled me aside and I had conversations with. And they were opening up, they were saying things, I can't imagine other people would have reacted the same way. That did have a little bit of ego to it. But what I mean is, I just looked them both in their eyes during these conversations, softened my gaze, and what I meant is do not tend to the external is don't fall for the temptation that these people are giving you. Don't fall for this time to give them pity. Don't fall for this time to flirt back with them. Don't fall for this time to judge them. Don't fall for any of that. Do not fall. Do not fall. Okay? Do not fall to temptation. Only tend to the internal. And so when I was looking at them and being there with them, I was only tending to my inner peace. I would have to become extremely, extremely still, because that was the only service I could give them. Because these people were pouring out their anxiety, they were pouring out their insecurities, they were pouring out all these things. And so all I had to give them was peace. That's all I could offer. I actually even hated talking in this state because it was so hard to form words because I was so relaxed. And words, honestly, pardon my French, words are loud ass thinking. Speaking is loud ass thinking. Thought already takes energy. When you're still, you don't want to think. Thinking disturbs. Thinking is noise. Thinking is energy. So you don't want to, screw that up. So, yeah. However, the next day I had low energy and low will, but I did remember this state, and I really, really, really wanted to tend to it. But what happened is I experienced that boom in this higher state, And so when I came back down, I'm not there. I'm getting there. I'm going to get there. If anything, I was darn close to getting there when I was doing the coconut water fast. That almost became my normal state. And that's why I think the coconut water fast and fasting in general is so beautiful, because it's like, you're gonna crack, you're gonna eat. You might have a moment where you just full on relapse to old diets, but that's okay, because you've already had a taste of what's to come, and you're not ignorant, you're not dumb anymore. You know what there is, and so you're not as willing to suffer in the past because you've tasted the medicine, you've tasted the peace. I'm not as willing to suffer, and in fact, I've been suffering for the past week. Because, it's the next part, I'm cooking for my boss. I love my boss where I'm at. He's an incredible man. He's given me so much. He's taken care of me. He allowed me, the opportunity to transition from the old coffee shop to where I'm at now. And he's provided me, I'm like one of maybe 4 people that get guaranteed full-time hours and can genuinely live off of just this job out of like 40. And so I'm cooking for him. And I learned that he doesn't like avocado. And guacamole is usually an incredibly big staple in all of my cooking. I only cook for social reasons because cooked food is dead food. That's my opinion. But yeah, just look at what happens when you heat food up past, I think it's 118 degrees. Things just start to break down. Not only that, but if you have to rehydrate your food, that means that they killed it in the first place. Water is life. And so, yeah, either or, I told him I was gonna make him stir-fried rice because he liked Thai food. I have this, desire from way back about wanting to create stir-fried rice. And the thing about your desire is, just about every single human desire has to express itself. Ego will versus universal will. That's why meditation is so darn important, because you stop desire. And if you stop desire, which is essentially the first sin, the want to want, and you're fine, and you're completely fulfilled. Because when you want to want something, then you're kind of signing a contract with yourself that I'm not going to be happy till I learn how to do this. So, all that to say, I had this old desire of wanting to learn how to cook stir fry, but I'm not going to cook for myself. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to make myself eat a bunch of cooked food multiple times to figure out how to make stir fried rice and then never give it to anyone. I need to do it for someone. So, I've eaten stir fried rice 4 times this week. And not small amounts. I'm talking like big amounts, because when I cook, I try to emulate the serving size that I'm giving. So if I'm cooking for him and his wife and myself, I'm at least cooking like, a cup of rice, whole bell pepper, a decent amount of onion, shallots, a lot. I'm cooking a lot. I'm using a lot of oil, a lot of spices. And so it took an incredible toll on my body after my organs had a month to essentially shrink back down to their normal size. I was barely chewing food at this point. Most things were drank through smoothies, and smoothies are dense. Honestly, people are like, oh, that's not real food. Drink a 24-ounce smoothie, and then just drink some water to clean out the mouth, and just like let it be. It's a lot. Okay, it's actually like a lot of food. You don't need that much. But what happened is my organs stretched back out. That hurt. That sucked. That was not fun. And I learned that when the organs were more stretched out and loose, so was my ability to focus, my mental clarity. I've once heard the term slutty. Again, sorry for the foul language, but that's a good way to put it, is because as the organs became slutty and loose, so did my thinking, so did my will. I wasn't so shouldn't perform it effortlessly. But I was setting myself up for failure, and so I was failing way more than I was succeeding. And this was all happening within this week. Because it's Saturday right now, and last Saturday is when I smoked, which again it blows my freaking mind how much of what you consume affects your ability to manifest, your ability to be real with yourself, how much it affects everything. But my gut also became numb because I'm eating so much starch, so much rice. And just now, and maybe like 40 minutes ago, was the deepest meditation I've had this whole week. And that's really not saying much, because my ability to meditate, my will to meditate, has just absolutely plummeted, which is terrible, because then I'm seeking substances outside of me to calm me down. And if you've noticed, I've been talking really fast, way faster than normal, because I've just been strung up this week. I'm just always tense. I hate it. But good news is I took Senna, so a laxative, and I've been drinking apple juice and eating grapes, and I have coconut water in my fridge, because starting tomorrow, I don't care. I'm cleaning myself out. I have to feed my boss on Tuesday, and then after that, like, I'm over this. I don't want to do this anymore. I really don't want to do this anymore. But what is it? Oh my gosh, sometimes I really can't read my handwriting. Oh, consistent compensation. Yep, aka emotional volatility. So when you eat crazy foods, like incredibly big noodle bowls, or a lot of rice, a lot of meat, a lot of beans, anything that creates gas within the body, that applies pressure onto the abdominal wall, that stretches out the organs, that burns the organs, that causes crazy sugar highs and lows, caffeine highs and lows, anything like that, you're gonna have to compensate with something else. And so emotionally, just up and down all day until you flatline when you go to sleep. And literally you're just blacked out, really. Most people don't remember anything. You just start the day again. So it's just constant chaos. So I'm honestly not that bad. I've done a really good job. I did have one more slip up on, I want to say like the 5th or the 4th. No, I want to say it was the 3rd going into the 4th of November, where I did smoke one more time, and I really didn't like it. Yeah, I couldn't play dumb anymore. I really couldn't return back to that lifestyle, and it's honestly where I'm at now. It's incredible that I was able to basically be like a stoner for 2 years. But there's so much that I learned that I don't regret it in any way, shape, or form. There's so many people that I met that now I understand why people do that, and I understand them, that it removes so much judgment. I can't do it. I don't want to do it. Like I said, minimum every 2 months, if at that. And then the only way that it's even worth it is if you're already a very centered, present, healthy human being. And that means no meat, no cheese, no dairy, no excessive salt. You're not always drinking a bunch of water and filling the body with a bunch of water. You have the right amount of fluids, you're exercising, you're meditating, you have an incredible memory, so on and so forth. You have incredible presence, period. That's the only time any of that can be worth it. And even then, you probably won't want to do it, because then you'd have to process it, the emotion, the thought that comes with it, before you can return back to the state that you're already at, which has everything. Anyway, covered that. Covered that. And then the last thing that I was learning was really have to stand up for myself, and not feeling sorry, and stop tending to the external. It's always tending to the external. Today I'm just going to use the first letter of either the first name or the last name of these people. You guys won't know, but there's 3 individual things that really taught me that I really just need to stand up for myself. A lot of people bully themselves, and so it allows people externally to step on them, because they've already crushed themselves internally. So they have no defense. They have no will to stand up for themselves. If you break your energy, you break your will. If you break your will, you're completely screwed. Your will is your ability to consciously allocate energy in your direction of choosing, which is very important because we're creators. And as intentional creators, that's what you do. You intentionally allocate your energy, or you intentionally will yourself to do things. You intentionally will yourself to think a certain way, or to not think a certain way, so then you can have a desired outcome. If it's all conscious, you're basically playing God. You need to acknowledge that everything that you're doing, everything that you're experiencing is of your creation. You cannot blame anyone else. You cannot blame anyone else, because no one can ever take anything from you, okay? You can only give up. That's the only thing you can do. You can just give up, right? I give up my sovereignty, my freedom, because I think that this person rules over me, right? They didn't take anything from you. You can just easily turn around and walk away. That person can't do anything for you. If that person can't control your feelings, can't hurt your feelings, they can't do anything to you. So I needed to stand up for myself, because my will was getting incredibly broken over this week. And that's an exaggeration relative to most people, but where I was getting, I don't even want to say that, because I'm not trying to make myself sound better than others. The only reason I'm saying that is because I have the potential to be everyone. So I can be the person that's like, wait, talk like that. Whatever, shut up. Stay focused. Basically, I need to stand up for myself. And so S gave very strong opinions on my diet today, because I was talking about my fast and all that, and they were like, that's not healthy, that's not good, that's not right, that sounds like an eating disorder. And I understood where they're coming from, because I've been there before. And as above, so below, as within, so without. Everyone is me, and I am everyone. So I understood their perspective, but I also understand where I'm at right now, and these are the appropriate steps for me. And I hear that voice. They're literally, quite literally, a physical manifestation of a certain, I want to say, I guess, persona within me. When I fast, it's like, yo, stop doing this. Eat this, eat this, eat this dense thing. Eat this, eat this. This is not healthy. Eat a bunch, eat a bunch, eat a bunch. And then after like 2 or 3 breaths, I'm back to that incredible peace that I just want to share with the world. So that's one thing, is I can't tend to them. I can't tend to their expectations of me. I can only feel peace and love for them and just keep going. I'm a walking lesson for them, and they're a walking lesson for me. The next one is lifestyle opinions. There's a individual in particular that was starting to overstep boundaries. And because of how I treat myself, or I kind of let people walk over me because I walk over myself a lot, I had broken a lot of my boundaries for this individual when I didn't particularly want anything from them to begin with. They just kind of entered. And I hate to call it a parasite, but looking back, it is kind of like parasitic. But again, what is a parasite? A parasite eats things it's not supposed to be there before it starts to eat the host. So they were eating things. I mean, again, parasite still eats the host, but regardless, I can't focus on that. They started to eat at me and started to eat at my ability to walk over myself, my ability to not be strong with my boundaries, my ability to not stand up for my certain views because I'm a very passive individual, but they started to step on my toes in certain things. And I was just like, you know what? I don't care. This is how I live. This is it. And I'm done. Goodbye. And yeah, that was very liberating, because it didn't feel like I did get upset, I did get mad at one point, and I will tell you this, because my gut is full. You're so quick to lose your temper when you're just stuffed. It's so easy to get incredibly stressed because your body's already stressed out to begin with. So your grip on that piece is weaker. Your stability on that piece is weaker than someone who actively meditates, isn't full of poop, isn't eating food that drives them up and down, crazy highs and lows, present, and all the other things that I've said in the past. And the last one, B, is flirtiness. The beast, the body. If you let it make the choices, you'd be performing every sin in the freaking book. And some people really do live by the beast. When you overeat, a bunch of pressure gets put down in this lower area, and I found that the prostate gets, at least in men, I don't know about women, but the prostate for guys gets stimulated a lot. And since the blood is concentrated down in that area so much more, since it's already stimulated, it's a lot easier to get boners. I'm gonna say it out loud just because it's funny. It's a lot easier to get aroused compared to when, through meditation, you lift the blood up. You lift the blood up into the brain, you lift the blood up into the lungs, into where it's supposed to be. Okay, it stopped recording. But regardless, the will breaks easier, and you just say things. You act certain ways that you want it. Because what you're doing is you're acting from down there. That's quite literally, you act and you think and you feel according to where the blood is concentrated. So if the blood is concentrated in the penis, in the vulva, you're gonna act, you're gonna say all types of weird things you don't actually mean, you don't actually want to do when you return back to that piece. Because what you're doing is you're actually straying from the piece. It's insane. Literally, it's insane. When people, it's crazy that basically the whole country of America, the majority of people eat like this. Even vegetarians, vegans, if you don't stay away from starch, you're not really living as clean as you could be. If you're not staying away from rice, you're not staying away from noodles, if you're not staying away from bread, if you're not staying away from cashews, if you're not staying away from majority of just dense foods that keep the blood down there, you're more susceptible to temper tantrums. You're more susceptible to being aroused when you shouldn't be. You're more susceptible to overeating. You're more susceptible to parasitic thinking. And yeah, your will just won't be as strong. So that's basically everything I learned. My name is JC. I offer 30-minute, 1 hour, 2 hour talks for $15, $25, $45. I love you guys. Holy freaking cow. Yeah, data dump. Love y'all. Peace.